Today's podcast is brought to you by Superior Culture Quality Brew Kombucha. They are a locally owned and operated organic beverage company. They are genuinely connected with the community and constantly striving to create flavors that you won't find anywhere else. I try to drink one of these every day because of the numerous health benefits I find. It eases my joint pain, it picks me up with energy, and it ensures healthy digestion. Superior Culture. Kombucha has changed our lives. We are also brought to you by Marquette's only heated yoga studio offering vinyasa and power classes. Tulivesi Yoga's mission is to empower you to live your best life and foster a sense of connection to self and the community. What's up, guys? Welcome to Information Operation. I'm Connor Ryan. We're coming at you from Marquette, Michigan, on location at Tulivesi Yoga. We're bringing you your locally sourced ideas, thoughts, and inquiries. Today on the podcast, I sat down with Miss Jen Taylor. She owns Tulivesi in Marquette, and she just got back from multiple trips around the globe. I thought it'd be awesome to sit down and talk with her about what she learned about life, what she learned about people, and what she learned about yoga, and it truly was. This woman is a huge mentor in my life, and I really appreciate the opportunity to sit down, have this conversation, and share it with all of you. Enjoy. Jen Taylor, thanks for being here. How are you today? How was morning class?
It was good.
Jen just taught class, so it was just like literally 5 minutes ago.
Yes.
Rock on.
Yes.
And I feel like we've been in this situation where I've been gone, you've been gone. April, May was kind of crazy.
Yes.
And you moved, I moved, and now we'll just be able to catch up.
Let's catch up.
I'm pretty stoked.
I'm stoked.
Let's start with India.
Whew, we're just diving right in.
Jen went to India.
I did go to India.
What did you do?
So India was an amazing experience. I went there. It was a group of people. So a few of us we met last year in Bali on a trip with one of my yoga mentors back in Dallas.
Yeah.
And we decided to go to India. She had been to India several times and has been working with a foundation there called the Women's Interlink Foundation. So I went with One Love Dallas is what we used to raise funds for when I lived in Dallas. And it's a big, really the whole, I mean, there's One Loves all over, but there was a really great organization through Dallas that her studio, Uptown Yoga in Dallas, was a big supporter and founder of the One Love Dallas Foundation. And so that goes together with Women's Interlink, which is in India. So we took the trip there. Women's Interlink does a lot with working with children and especially women, sex-trafficked women that have been abused, or even children that have been lost in the streets. It's, yeah.
So that foundation kind of linked up with the foundation in India.
Correct.
So you did mission work.
Correct. So we were there. We definitely had cultural experiences, and we learned a lot. But we were there to visit the houses and especially one in particular called the Najoli House, and it was just a beautiful organization of really a lot of children in an orphanage that I didn't know this, but even in India, so it's very hard to get, or very easy to get lost in a crowd, different than, here.
Yeah.
And so often children get separated from their parents, and, when they go to the police or something and say, I'm looking for my child, there's no way to identify and locate them, like how we have a more systematic approach here in the States, that it's easier to locate. So a lot of them were separated from their families, and they get found, and the Women's Interlink Foundation is who takes them and puts them into these housings. Yep. Yeah. And then many of the other ones, so on the very sad side was seeing the sex trafficked women and children that were either born into that or living that life, and they were rescued out of that life and given a better life to live. So really beautiful, just meeting all of the children. That was a big part of what we were there to see.
Right. What did you do for them?
No, we really learned more about like their trades and what they kind of do. So
Yeah.
it was more of them teaching us than us teaching them right now. But they're provided education and housing. You can even support through them. The Women's Interlink Foundation is an amazing organization that anyone can get involved in. We were there, and visiting the street clubs was also another part of what we were there to see. So those were more of the after-school kids programs in addition. So that's also through Women's Interlink Foundation. And so we would visit these after-school programs that maybe they have housing, they live somewhere, but it's not ideal or maybe safe or extremely impoverished locations. And so those are more of a place where the children can go and they would practice yoga. We actually got to see and do some of that with them, and they work on arts and crafts and projects, but it's really crafting them to become, to get out of this life and to become flourishing individuals, even coming from a traumatic experience. So much like the children at the house that we visited too, they are taught different crafts and trades. So everything from how to make these beautiful scarves, which I gave you.
Yeah, that was my next question. Is like, what kind of stuff?
Yeah, so their cooking was amazing. So they cooked us lunch. So one of the skills they learn is cooking and how to provide meals and things like that. And another one is sewing clothes. They made some amazing, pieces, everything from handbags. It's all handmade. One of the things I really loved were these beautiful scarves. They were silk scarves, and you would watch them. They had blocks, and they would stamp, make the stamps that
like
would
raw.
Very
material.
raw material. So they would make the stamps to make these beautiful scarves that.
That's gnarly.
Yeah. So then now they're learning trade and they can sell those items.
Yeah. So that's their way out. They're learning a skill that will kind of get them out of that lifestyle.
Exactly. And this is while they're living in the orphanage. But also the children's program, they were learning that live in the house that are housed there, but also in the street club, street kids program, they're also learning, trade and how to make a living for themselves. And it was a really beautiful thing to see.
And when you and Nate were there, you were just kind of there to just support them and like hang out with them and.
Yeah, we did supporting. We watched. They did singing, dancing. Another thing that they do.
Yeah.
They were showing us really like they were so excited. It was so joyous to just see the looks on their faces when they were like, "Look, I made this," and it made it so much more special and meaningful. I have pictures of the children and the actual scarf when I wear that.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like I know we see things like it's not made in the USA, it's made in India, it's made here, but when you actually see it handmade like that, it almost doesn't care where it's coming from in the world. It's coming from a person and a heart.
Regardless.
And, it was really beautiful.
People are
making it.
Yeah. That's so cool. And you said you watched them do yoga.
Yeah, we did. Their yoga practice was awesome. It was amazing to watch them, and they were really good. Yeah.
And you've been teaching yoga for how long?
This is probably 4 years, 5 years.
Yeah. So after teaching in the States, like, how is it different?
I think it just depends because there's so many different kinds and styles of yoga.
Yeah.
Like a lot of what they were practicing there was more of an Ashtanga based.
Wasn't Baptiste Power Flow?
So yes, without getting into, we could be 3 hours here talking about the styles and kinds of yoga. But they have, there was definitely more of an Ashtanga lineage is what these children were practicing that we were watching. So it was very cool to see. The master guru would stand there and he would call out. He would say the posture. He would say, "Ready, go," and they would go. The children would go into the posture, and then he would say, "Relax," and then everyone lays down. They do shavasana. It was very quick, maybe 30 seconds or a minute, and then he was like, "Now, next side, go," and they would be back up. Yeah, so it was very interesting to see. But there's so many different kinds and styles, but
physical practice.
It was physical, but I kind of asked him that, and he said it's creating the discipline, which that's a lot of what our practice taught us is discipline. So it's that maybe inner fire to have that discipline.
Sure, but you weren't going there to do yoga per se.
No, I was not. This was not a yoga-based trip.
Where did you stay?
Well, we traveled around quite a bit. We went to the Taj Mahal, so that was one of the amazing sights to see. So we flew in. We went up to Agra to see the Taj Mahal. That was a bit of the sightseeing, which was magnificent. And then I'm trying to piece it all together. And then we went back to New Delhi. We spent a few days in New Delhi, seeing the markets and just really like visiting the culture. And New Delhi was interesting. So that was a cool experience. And then we headed to Calcutta. So that was where our the foundation was, and that was where we began seeing, the children and the street kids. From there, we did have so we did go see a temple while I was there, the famous Kali goddess temple, which that was a wild journey to see that. And it was just beautiful to see the culture. We saw the Ganges River and people that had traveled from all over for the holy water.
Right.
And once they got there, just to see the complete raw.
What did you think of it? Like when you were witnessing the famous Ganges River?
So we were down at the lower part, so it was a little more polluted down there. But it was quite different than what I imagined it would be. It's not Lake Superior.
No, you have these expectations.
Yes, you do.
Going into these huge sites that you've read about, you've seen pictures, you've looked into and researched. Like, I'm going to go here. Yeah. And it's hard not to have that expectation, such as life.
Exactly.
But when you went there, was it like, this is real?
Yeah, it was really real. And you saw a lot of ceremonies down there. The performing of Gange and just the privilege, the sacrament to the river itself. It was it was really cool. So,
and that's something we're not used to in the States.
No.
So it must have just been.
Yeah, we went through there. And then flowers. One of the things I actually really loved in India is flowers. So weddings are very big there, and they last for a long time. And so the amount of flowers that the flower markets were just incredible. And then everywhere you would go, there would just be flowers, whether it was for sacrifice offering or weddings or ceremonies. Really just saw like a celebration of life, of people, even through extreme poverty, most impoverished that I can ever. It was bone chilling to see some of the things that we saw.
You have extreme highs and extreme lows.
For sure, yes.
In a big way. Yeah. I have a huge fascination, like after getting into yoga, to like go to India. Like I have this, I don't know, I get nerded out about it.
There's different parts, we weren't in maybe where all of the yoga is flourishing, where we in the States would maybe think of going there. This was definitely different. This was like in the city, and we did see Mother Teresa's home, which was really cool to tour through. We traveled to a small little town, so it was very nice being city side, and then we went rural to Bolpur, which was actually a housing that One Love Dallas raised funds for and built. And so a lot of what we were there for is eco-based tourism. So by going and seeing these things and purchasing these things and helping get the word out that these really amazing items and all of this hand trade that people do in services. I brought home some beautiful pottery and mugs and things like that were made in Bolpur and a small village. So that was very cool, just to see all of the animals. It was like adobe little houses everyone kind of walked in through. It was really interesting. I'd never been to an actual village like that. I'd been to a village in Bali, but it was different.
Definitely.
So, this is a pretty amazing experience. So they were so excited there to have us and to show us what they've made. But the One Love Dallas Foundation made this entire, it's like a hotel kind of almost, but it's out in the city. So people that live in India or traveling through could stay, and it was awesome. It was very like raw concrete walls, floors, and it had all been hand built. But so people stay there. That raises money for the entire village. They gave us
Yeah.
a really beautiful fire ceremony, and yeah,
So your whole
it was
trip
amazing.
kind of like supports the local
Yeah.
foundation.
Right, correct.
That's excellent.
Yes. So those two, One Love Dallas feeds into the Women's Interlink.
Right.
And then, the foundations just build. We were there with Experience the Village, which is another foundation, and they go to different areas, and they're more with the eco-based tourism. So they go to Cairo, definitely in, believe it's Nairobi, but there's some different areas that they go to.
Yeah.
And yeah, all these websites, though, can get you, I'm probably not even giving half the
Sure.
information.
But it sounds like you got a unique perspective of India. Like
Definitely.
when I think of going, it doesn't sound like a vacation.
It was busy, I will
Yeah.
say, just sensory overload.
Yeah.
There, from the honking of horns, your senses are overtaken. The pollution was extreme. I thought a day in Los Angeles on the 405 was pollution. I had never seen just the thick smog and haze of there. There's just so many people living in the country,
Yeah.
and yeah, so you're from overloading on that, from taste. It was a different taste than what I'm used to. I was sick. I'm not sure if I had a parasite or what, but I was sick for, around 3.5 weeks.
The food is
So
different.
I had a hard time adjusting to that. But, definitely the senses were heightened, I will say.
Yeah.
Even just, simple things like touch, when you would see some of the women you'd walk by and they would just smile, or the hugs that the little girls gave us. There was an immediate deep love connection,
Yeah.
to where you just felt like this purity,
Yeah.
this sense of just human to human, connectedness, and yeah, it was
Like welcoming.
even emotionally, yeah,
It
just
was
to
a
even
welcome.
talk
You
about.
didn't feel out of place. When
Yeah,
you were there.
no. And then sound, that was definitely overstimulated. Definitely the driving there
Yeah.
was
Outrageous.
outrageous is a good word to describe that. Their way of, getting around is beep, beep, beep. So it is just imagine mass chaos, cars kind of everywhere
Yeah.
weaving in.
They don't really have
Yeah.
like a road law
No,
system.
so
What
it
about
was
criminal justice?
different.
Like you talk about the police and not being able to find kids, and there's no traffic laws. Like, is that something that is just not really structured?
I think it's just a different culture. So yeah, we look at our law enforcement is a lot different than
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure with a lot of other things.
yeah.
How long
But it was amazing.
in all did you stay there?
I believe we were there a little over 2.5 weeks.
Nice.
Our last area we left from after Calcutta, we went to Udaipur, and that was really awesome. One of my favorite places. We were there for the Holy Fest, which is such an honor to even be there during that time, where it's just a complete spring renewal, and it's the festival of colors. So if you've ever seen pictures of Holi, it's everything and more. There is color explosion everywhere, people laughing, celebrating, music. It's
Yeah.
a really live experience. But that was one of my favorite cities to visit. It's up high in the hill. It's called the Venice of the East. So it was all water. And yeah, you were sitting up high looking down all of the roads. So now imagine the traffic, like I spoke about, and the honking and all of that. And imagine that through a 1-lane, basically, road through the whole town, 1 to 2. And so cars weren't there. It was only tuk-tuks, which were
Little bikes.
the little rides. And so tuk-tuks and like moped, motorcycle type
Sure.
of things. So you would be walking and got to jump off to the side.
Yeah.
Here come the vehicles. So so you had to leave cars on the other side to come in, which was so it was cool. But you had to watch your toes.
No doubt. And like, if you had to like see a universal truth about people through like seeing that Eastern way of living, all the culture, all the different diverse aspects of how they live and what they value, do you see like something that is in common with everybody, no matter where you live?
Oh, of course. I think there's just this obviously, spirit, the universal connection, or whatever each individual spiritual connection that you have. And then there is a vibration frequency. I mean, we are made up of so much
Yeah.
energy. There's 72,000 nadis, energy channels running throughout the body. So how can we be with people and not having,
You recognize that.
an energetic feel and shift? So no matter where you are,
That vibe exists.
exactly. So you see a universal that we are all like
Right.
here living,
Right.
being, presently in this world together in this life, and through even struggle, hard, all of those emotions, things that we really feel, they exist everywhere. They exist no matter if it's in your life, if it's in an extreme version elsewhere.
And even without
We're all,
talking.
able to find even inner peace. I saw that even through some of the most even struggling looking people had peace and love. So it's available to us all.
Yeah, you can read it without talking to somebody.
Yep.
How did you read it off those people who were maybe struggling?
Well, eyes. I mean, you could see just maybe they had a hard time, or hardship or hard life, but there was just a beauty. They would even be maybe smiling through that, or
Yeah.
and it was pure, like real, raw.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So looking in the eyes of these people.
Yeah, you could just be with them, like really be with those people.
That's
And it wasn't like a
incredible.
pity. I'm sorry for you. It was like, I love you. Your
Yeah.
compassion. I can
Yeah.
be with you, and I'm sending my love and generosity and
Well,
vibes
yeah,
and
like
all of
we're
that
all a
there.
part of this thing.
Yeah,
No matter where you go. Yeah,
So-
that's awesome.
yeah, it was awesome.
And from there, you moved to the Maldives Islands. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yes, just for a couple of days. We were already
As
down
like
south.
like a
Yeah,
decompression.
those were unbelievably beautiful.
Yeah.
They're said to be underwater in about 15 years, so we didn't spend much time there. It is,
But you
a
caught it while
real
the getting's
rare
good.
treat.
You
So,
got it while the getting's good.
yep. And so we wanted to, while we were there, just experience them for a few days. So it was beautiful. You would imagine blue,
Yeah.
that crystal turquoise water, and beautiful reefs and fish, and yeah, so that was awesome.
Right
For a
on.
few days, yes.
And they're quite small.
Yep, and it was quite the exact opposite there. It was teeny tiny. I remember when I arrived to the island, there's no shoes, you take your shoes off when you enter the island, you leave. So it was this very sense of cleansing, renewal,
Sure.
just
Sure.
like a shedding, okay, that this is all the things I have, this is all I need. And yeah, barefoot walking, I mean, I already love that anyway, so it was really grounding just to be there. And
Yeah.
especially, I feel like it was definitely a shift for me, because it was complete night and day opposite of where I had just been.
Yeah.
From sensory overload to like nothingness. So
Yeah.
it felt like that was a very meditative state for me to be there for a few days. It was quiet. I remember we
really-
got our bikes when we got there. They greet you with bikes, and that's
Yeah.
how you get around the island. And they said this is the path around. And so I thought, oh, let's go for a nice bike ride. 4 minutes later, I was done in the loop. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So you just
Yeah, exactly.
over
so
and over.
yeah, so it was like, oh, okay. And so it was a
Yeah.
lot of
Downtime, it
stillness,
seems.
which was very much needed
right after that.
in our day.
Big
Yeah,
time.
especially
Now,
after
what if
that.
there was glass on the ground?
I don't know. Maybe you'd walk around it, or maybe you'd
That's
pick it
the
up.
first question.
Pick it up. I never.
That popped into my mind. Like, take
I
your
did
shoes
not
off.
see glass on the ground, so
Good.
I don't know.
That's a good thing. So 3 or 4 days there, and then
Then just headed back.
yeah, and then I think after that, right off to a school for a certain type of yoga, which is slipping my mind.
Yes. When I went to,
Bahamas.
so yeah, I normally don't travel as much. It just was very odd. These things
Right.
happened
That's
to
why
be
we,
very
like,
back to
lead.
back.
Yeah. The spring was awesome.
So I went, part of when I was in India and in the Maldives, I had studied to and learned about Ayurveda, which is, it's a Indian type of, Ayurveda itself means the science of living. So I had met with an Indian doctor, and a practicing Ayurveda, and it was really amazing. Like I had studied it through, teacher training and stuff, but not this intensely in depth, and had, already knew what we call the doshas. I won't get into this too much, but
Next time.
yes,
Part 2.
yeah, we'll have some workshops to talk about that or something.
Cool.
But into our inner constitution makeup of the doshas, and it was very eye-opening and enlightening. A lot of it was like maybe I already knew practices that weren't bringing me fully into balance. But then now, where do you start and go from there? Like, what are the changing practices? Where can I take this life and be really living it and not just kind of existing in it type of sense. Right. So really the shift for me was meeting with him and finding like practices, health things, maybe foods, things that weren't necessarily working for me, and why that was, and kind of investigating into that. So so then after that I talked with him. We still are communicate a little bit, and I decided to embark on a deeper journey of Ayurveda, something, I have a nursing background, yoga teacher, so I already love and enjoy Western medicine. So this is now kind of seeing it from an Eastern side. And rather than treating disease and disease process, it's preventative and balance, and where can you take it from living. So I really, was excited and very nervous to go, because it was a while. It was, over 2 weeks that I spent. Tent. Yeah. So I went to, it was actually the Shivananda ashram, and it was, it's in the Bahamas. So I was like, well, this is going to be beautiful and awesome either way. Right? And it was a beautiful, serene setting and place. And so you could stay in different places. I stayed in it's called a tent hut. So I call it glamping, I don't know, but it was basically these big platforms, like you would imagine, like an open platform, and it just had a bunch of tents there, and so you got to really, like, it became very homey. You saw your neighbors. A few of my neighbors were my classmates that I became very close to. So I did an Ayurveda yoga therapy certification for 2 weeks, and that was the most, like, beautiful, spiritually opening, enlightening experience of my life. You
can say that without a doubt.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
Hands down. So, like, didn't know that in 2 weeks you literally could flip gears that much and feel just a complete life change. I've been wanting to do something like that, and we're always kind of growing and evolving and looking at like where we can kind of step out of our comfort zone. So that was a little out of my comfort zone at first to go. And it deeply set into my heart. It's a place I miss every day, the people, the place. We went there to find non-attachment, which I did when I was there, and then I found myself leaving, like I got kind of attached to these people in this place, and the swamis, and daily kirtan twice a day, eating an Ayurvedic lifestyle. So it's very pure. So we ate a sattvic diet, which means pure, clean diet. So all plant-based, and no onions, garlic, and mushrooms. So that was where it was interesting. But my taste buds changed. Like, it really... it was eye-opening for me, and eating to balance myself, and doing activities and practices to move away from what we call a rajasic or a tamasic state, which can be
just kind of like autopilot.
You could look at it like autopilot. There's different meaning between the two briefly. Like rajasic is more of our neediness, our maybe even greed, lusting for the need, the wants, the wants. And, the tamasic can even be that confusion state that we could be in. So eating, living, and having that entire lifestyle through all the forms of yoga. So definitely, it was amazing. So daily devotion. So karma was huge there, karma service. I say to anyone, any kind of service that you can do is obviously amazing. And this place, if you're ever in a place in your life where you're struggling, or don't feel like you know what path or anything you're on, go do service. You will learn so much. And it's really a beautiful way. There was even a lot of, while I was there was yoga for recovery going on, a lot of programs with that, yoga for addiction. And a lot of that was learning service. And when you serve others and you're with others, yeah, it removes a lot of the stuff, I'll say, in quotes, the
Yeah.
stuff. So,
Like,
yeah,
you're
part of it,
more
everyone.
intuitive.
And then you see a more beautiful, giving, loving side of people, and then that illuminates in you. You become more giving and loving.
Right.
So the whole ashram, that's how it runs. Is
It all manifests.
yeah, it all runs off of karma service. So some people come there on a 3-month where they're just coming to do service and in exchange for living. And a lot of the programs, as you're there, you're in an hour, even the TTC courses and stuff that are there, you're in for an hour a day, every day doing your service. But it becomes like where you even look at even the kitchen staff, how many times do you go to a restaurant where you're at here and think about the hands that are preparing the food, and then beyond the hands from the farms that it came from and from the trucks that moved it here. And
Seriously.
there's so much that goes into it in gratitude. So I just especially loved every day, the meals. We say in Ayurveda, when like things are made and given with love, then everything is an exchange that comes in, and you're really taking in love through food. So that was a big one for me. The kitchen would put up, and they'd be singing and chanting and just so happy. And you knew like, wow, this soup, it's so nourishing now.
Yeah,
Like,
this is where it's like almost like when you cook it yourself rather than getting it prepared.
exactly. And even with that, how your emotions are, even looking at balance. So you could be preparing a meal with your friend or significant other or whatever, and think about like how that translates. So if you're cooking a meal and you get into a big fight, what happens now? You just kind of like quickly stuff this food down.
Seriously.
Almost like how you stuff the emotions down. It really is that, metaphor there, but how you could stuff it down and take it down, and then it just doesn't maybe settle right. You just feel kind of icky. But think about
There's the other side to it.
we even look at food. What do we like doing? We like gathering and eating and things like that. But so when you have this place of love, every day the food, would have like a loving saying behind the soups and the all of the foods that they would prepare and the salads and all of that. And you would kind of like giggle at first, but then you got to see it, and I was like, oh, like Jordan in the kitchen made that, and that really
so much more.
means a lot more. And then you could really like give offering and thanks to those hands, and then really take that food in as this like beautiful vital nourishment that really it is a sacrifice. Everything that we eat is a sacrifice. So it's sacrificing its life for us, whether it's even plants growing in the ground or whatever.
Plants or animals. They
So,
have to-
do we even stop to take those moments to take in our nourishment, or have our rajasic sides come back in more, where we have these cravings and these needs and these wants?
Well, I would dare to say that we should.
And that we should, yeah. So it really changed my entire perspective. And, when you look at the physical body, then you can start moving to the subtle body. You can move to the mind. It's also connected. So how do we get to this more pure sense of ourself, our innermost truth? That was a lot of what even like that training itself opened up for me. And then how to share that with others, how to really look at them, where are the shifts in your life, and then what yoga practices could maybe help you with that, what eating, there's so much involved.
Right. It's more than just asana.
Oh, for sure.
It's more than just postures.
Definitely.
And how are you going to take this back? Like you experience all this and it was extremely powerful. How are you going to bring it back? Or how do you apply it in your own life?
Well, I mean, I've started to apply the things even in my own life through my own, eating, and even in my husband, and seeing the shifts, and even or how much better our relationship can even become when we want to harmonize ourselves and we want to be in balance, and then those practices carry over. Eating mostly a plant-based diet now has been not even what would seem a transition, whereas I tried that years ago, and trying different practices. Maybe I wasn't quite in the right mindset or something, or I don't know, maybe something was just off, and it's been seamless and easy, and my husband's been the same way, and just kind of taken right into that. Everything from daily, things I just take a little more time for maybe myself in the morning, and it's not like, oh, I've got to get up early. I like can't wait to get up now. I can't wait. I feel open and light. My body feels great. I do a daily oil massage, maybe quick sometimes, but Abhyanga I found for my constitution and type that's something especially important to me, so that I don't feel so dry and dried out. And that has been life-changing. Through my physical practice, I've noticed right away I've been able to move. But really more importantly for me, I think, physical body isn't as big of a deal.
Yeah.
I love, take care of your physical body. It is our temple, of course. But I mean, in terms of the way I look, I'm more,
Yeah.
I think something shifted in my mid-30s that was like, I just want to feel good. How do I keep this feeling of youth, you would say, through my bones, through my joints, through my mindset, through just even how I carry and walk with myself.
Yeah.
And sure, we all, part of the growth is then you slip back and forth, you slowly start detaching from some things.
Right.
You come to where it's more and more and more and more simpler each day. So,
and you kind of mentioned that as like a common theme, both in the Maldives and in that tent that you were living in. Like, they gave you everything you need.
Yep.
And we have a huge disconnect between what we want and what we need sometimes.
Definitely.
And what did you find that you truly need?
I mean, really, you found that the basics, I was like, I wear the same 6 probably shirts. And, like how much excess that we really do pile on, whether that's excess food, whether like stuffing excess emotions, whether that's excess, even taking on someone else's emotions and emotional state. It can be in an excess for you. So for me, it was, like that it was very simple that one pair of flip-flops did the deal most days, and like everything we need, we got a place to sleep, and we had fresh water, and for me, being surrounded by water and ocean, that is such a, just even feeling those elements. And here we have Lake Superior, which is amazing. So to me, I found that being a very equalizing and balancing state in and of itself, just that water element, and how, we even look at in Ayurveda, the elements is what we are looking at when we look at people, is their elemental constitution, what we're made up of, and we're all made up of the elements, and then what ratio is that element more in others.
It's not like a one size fits all.
Right. And then are we doing things to harm ourselves, like moving us towards a not inner balanced state? And it's, it's often even in Ayurveda said that when we are, we gravitate towards, when we're imbalanced, meaning not balanced, we gravitate towards things that are not balancing, right?
Right.
And then when
and this is all referring to karma?
No, just even that too, yes, karma, and just your inner makeup,
like your homeostasis,
and, how you are daily, your daily practices.
Totally.
And when you're in balance and you're balanced, then you gravitate towards more balancing things. So we're trying to bring ourselves back. We're very complex beings, so bringing us back into our balance and finding what's maybe off. And so it takes a lot of inquiry. It takes a lot of self-diving in. It takes a little bit of exploration. And it takes some daily, how important your self-care is, what you do for yourself. And it sounds like selfish in a way, self-care, right?
Right, getting to know yourself.
Yeah, all of that. But it's actually like the opposite of that, because you're really just trying to, instead of, do all of these pile-on things for self, you're trying to actually get back to the removal, to the removing of the original limitations, self-limiting beliefs, whatever it may be through time that have been piled on. And those begin, as a child. What is it that how you were told and conditioned to do things? And is that...
There can be a lot to be gained from looking at that and getting to know yourself in order to become selfless.
For sure.
And like that's the ultimate goal.
The ultimate goal.
The ultimate,
service, devotion, all of that, are like paramount in any practice.
In reaching that
in
state.
Life. Yep.
and being happy and being peaceful. What did you
Definitely.
feel like when you got home?
A lot of emotion.
Time to
Yeah,
move.
it was hard, I, you know, still play and do I miss the certain thing, the things I dreaded the most, getting up early. Like, I'm not an early person. I used to
Yeah.
work night shift for many years at the hospital, and ever since then, and there's been a shift, I've never been able to, you know,
Chippy. I remember my
yeah.
workout classes that I used to have,
Oh, we're
and
gonna go there?
we should have.
I don't think we should go
Good
there.
morning, Jen. What's going on? 8 o'clock.
Yep.
Just gotta teach class.
Oh,
It's all
yeah,
good. It's all
yeah.
good. It's all good.
You're gonna throw out there that I used to miss all the workouts in the morning. I know. Um,
Anyway, not a morning person.
not a morning, and by morning I mean like 8:30. I like to be up like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
But I loved. It was very simple there. You didn't need an alarm clock. Another thing you didn't need. No cell phone. You didn't need that. Between
watch.
the mornings, the bell rang, so was wake up, and the bell would go off at 5:30 in the morning, and 6 a.m. satsang would begin. And I was like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to do this and how I'm going to make this. And, then you would go all day long, and then end the day the same way. We would have satsang at 8 p.m. and I'm like, I go to bed at 8:30. How am I going to make it?
Yeah.
And it just really, like that, even just the energy there, the music,
Can I show you?
the devotion, bhakti, it was beautiful, and you couldn't wait for that. So we would sit in seated meditation. It was a 2-hour practice in the morning of seated meditation, and then satsang chanting, and then the swamis, the chaitans, the other guest speakers. We had a Kundalini speaker one day. So there was a lot of different stuff going on. Just the knowledge base that
Yeah.
I would hear daily was incredible. I mean, we learned a lot about Vedanta, yoga philosophy, path to peace, enlightenment, from even the yoga addiction and recovery. Speaker spoke, which was just, even finding like how addicted we are to anything. Like,
Yeah.
we look at addiction in this terms of, I'm not addicted, to whatever it may be, alcohol, drugs,
Right.
food, sex, anything like that. But there's other addictions. What about like addiction to devices, addictions to, even like that.
Exercise.
Yeah, you can be addicted
Addictions
to
to yoga.
exercise. You can be addicted to really
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
And
As an escape from reality.
yeah. And then like what's presently in front of you, and taking that, maybe even like dicing even some of that apart, like really getting in there, like nudging in and saying, I find these addiction attachments. It's a
Yeah.
form of a need, of a want. And then it can turn into disease. So
Yeah.
how do we stop the process before it becomes a disease? That's where our balancing states come in. That's where our balancing practices. And it takes, I had one woman say, she raised her hand and said, I wish I could do the, daily oil, because that's what she really
You're already
needed.
talking yourself
and she
out of
said,
that,
yeah,
right?
and she said, I wish I could do that, but that just takes so much time. And
There
the
you
speaker
go.
just said, I would dive into that. Like, I feel very sorry for you that you're not taking more time for yourself. Like, this is your entire life, is being here. And if
Right.
you're gonna choose to not do something that could take 5 minutes to make you feel completely better and whole and at peace the rest of the day, peace with others, whatever that may, practice may be, everyone's gonna be different
Yeah.
for what is the best for them.
Yeah, and is this something like, this is a lot of truth, like coming from this experience and a lot of realization, it sounds like.
Definitely.
Do you feel like this is just for you? Is this like an experience that you just like, this is going to make me a better person and more able to share? Or are these things that you feel like you're able to share?
Oh, definitely. I mean, yes, I went for my, my own growth, and I think that we all kind of grow at our own pace.
Yeah,
I
when
mean,
we're ready.
even through my teaching, I've grown from beginning to now, and I don't mean like grown in my teaching like sequencing.
As a person.
Maybe that's changed too. I don't know, but but as a person, as even a practitioner, as a student of yoga, as a student of life, I mean, those shifts have changed throughout. Like, my mindset has changed. How even in we're in asana usually I only have an hour with you, so we might not be able to get to each person on their inward journey. But with time, like that cleansing of your physical practice might be I know it was for me, the gateway. It's what started me, you know, from a stressful job and a trauma, busy ICU with, if you want to call it, you know, post-traumatic. I mean, there were traumatic events. There was anxiety that was definitely risen from my job. And so I went to let out steam, right? Which a lot of us do. We exercise for that release.
That was the beginning.
And then I found, you know, we feel a little piece of that there is the stillness and peace. Why isn't this all the time? How do I generate this all the time? So that's where I like, even in my classes, I like my students, you know, they're moving here through physical practice, but, you know, this might be their moment, and it takes time. Like, I didn't do it on my first day. It took 3 years before I ever sat down and did 1 day of meditation.
Same.
I was just grinding. I could do, you know,
I could do handstands.
yeah, you know, you could go through the poses, and those are teaching, and they're great, and they're amazing. They're, you know, it's awesome to see what the physical body can do, and how strong we are, and like put that into other states of your life. But for me, like, you know, opening that more spiritual side. So does that mean now that I get to this state and I'm doing more of my own personal meditation and mantra, and, you know, all of, you know, the other practices with chakra work and things I like to do, and nutrition, does that mean that now I just stop the physical practice? No, but it actually enhances everything, feels right, you know. And that's kind of one thing I found with Ayurveda, that it just made sense, as like complex as it is, and there's so many different facets, and still so much I'm learning, going back to school. I can't believe I'm saying that this fall for, you know, Ayurveda. So, you know, and I look at that and why I wanted to learn more, you know, and, you know, I kind of blanked on that thought for a second. But yeah, you know, you start to see shifts, changes, opening and awareness, and it's as complex. I think what I was saying is as complex of a science as it is, there's so many intricate facets. We're so different, but it's so simple. It's so simple. There's so much that we can do to simply
but
better
it is
our
not
lives.
Like coming in for a hot yoga class and expecting in 1 hour that you're going to get everything you need.
No. And a lot of days it's saying that I don't, that a hot yoga practice isn't balancing for me. Some days it's that I need to be by the water today. Some days it's, you know what I mean, that it's just going to be different each day. So, and then you're at least noticing your breath practice, your pranayama can be huge into this, playing
starting to listen to your body.
So, and listen, not from the ego side, like, okay, I want to get this, so that's why I'm going to do this. But really a more deeper inner listening state. And it's not like, poof, the ego's gone in 1 day, you know, but like, how can that ego, you know, there's a song that even East Forest sings that I love, that I play a lot in class. And it says, like, I didn't transcend my ego, we became partners. We became one, we became teammates. So it's not like this removal of self.
Take the driving wheel.
Definitely.
And you just sit in the back seat.
Yeah, you could look at it like that. And then, you know, that ego side dissolves. And it's, you know, it's not like, okay, I've changed, I'm out here, but I'm really in here more. Definitely. And then when I'm in here, now maybe there's a related, you know, relatability to others, but then there is a more, higher sense of state of samadhi, which is what we're all trying to reach, is that
union.
Samadhi, you know, so,
Complete unity with that higher self. That's huge. And that practice, yoga practice, can be your foot in the door.
And you can start from anywhere. It could be your physical practice. It can be starting with even a program like the yoga addiction program. You can start from service. It can start, for me, you know, it stemmed from even religion, you know, and I have a Christian, you know, background, but even giving service and love, joy, devotion, and it's all
universal.
Encompassing, universal. So no matter what, you know, what path you're on, what you believe, what is your highest truth and highest sense of, without getting too,
Sure.
too high, stuff here, then you
that step.
are taking a step somewhere
Yeah.
and really getting back to that, like when you were born an infant, that pure, innocent, blissful state.
I love
Yeah.
it. And people can take that step
Yeah.
right here in Marquette
Yeah, you can.
on location today at Tulivesi Yoga. It was awesome to have you, Jen.
Thanks so much. It was really great.
Seriously.
I have to say, real quick, Connor, I'm impressed. Your setup here is amazing. And I've known you for quite some time. And even I feel like we need to be interviewing you. That could be the next podcast.
That episode is coming.
Oh, good.
So
Okay, so
stay tuned.
tuned.
Information
'Cause
operation.
you have so much cool stuff to give and share. But
Absolutely.
I've really even seen you grow through your practice, your journey, your inner state. And I've really loved it and loved being a part of it. And I'm honored and everything, just to be here before you and learning so much from you.
It's just a privilege
it's
to be a
awesome.
part of it, Jen.
Yeah, it is.
Thanks again.
Thank you. I did want to read one last thing because this kind of encompassed everything we talked about today.
Beautiful.
And I think Anthony Bourdain,
Yeah.
he says it best. Move as far as you can, as much as you can, across the ocean or simply across the river. Walk in someone else's shoes or at least eat their food. Open your mind. Get up off the couch. Move.
Until next time, guys.
Until next time,
Ride the waves, dude.
ride the waves. Thanks, Connor.